Toby, any injury concerns, any players coming back into contention for the weekend?
Let's think about Arsenal. So, Justin Tipperick's back around. Phil Coccacina is not. Well, not currently, so he looks a little bit of a doubt. Kieran Hardy's back involved, which is good. Will Greatbanks is back around, and it's Morgan Morris's 100th game. So that's the news, really.
We'll come to that in a second. Horrendous conditions out in Munster. Certainly looked at on the telly. It must be difficult to review games like that. But how do you reflect?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the classic game of two halves, you know. And if you play in those sort of conditions more readily, you become better at it, you know. And it was a bit like Bridgend, but with gale force winds on top. So at times, so look, from our point of view, it's a good opportunity to learn some smart stuff. I thought that the difference between the two sides was certainly obviously the outcome and the nature of the outcome. But the streetwise element to it, you know, young team that are learning, you know, the dark arts, as someone would say it. But in relation to, you know, how to manipulate possession into the wind, those little bits and pieces are, unless you keep putting people in those positions, you don't learn them. And look, the fact of the matter is, we had more red zone opportunities than they did. That's the actual fact. So you've also got to be clinical, and that's where we've got to look at ourselves, and we've got to get improved. If we want to be a playoff team, you've got to be able to deliver against playoff opposition away from home in whatever conditions. So yeah, we're work in progress, and no one's going to deny that. But the disappointment thing was for us is we did have a lot more control than it actually manifested itself. When I say control, opportunity, than what manifested itself on the scoreboard. But against the best, you get less opportunity. You've got to be clinical, and that's what we were against the Stormers, and that's what we weren't against the Dragons, and that's, you know, to that degree. And ultimately, we weren't again against Munster. So, you know, that's the game we're in.
Bulls this weekend, they've looked pretty impressive against Ulster and Edinburgh. What sort of challenge do you expect them to bring?
Well, apart from all the Springboks that they put on the plane. So no, I think that, when you play South African teams, and I'm not going to generalise too much, but you know you're going to be in for a physical encounter first and foremost. You know, the physicality and the breakdown is always something that you need to pay a lot of attention to, because if you're a little bit off or a little bit late, you know, the chances are physically you're not going to be able to set it or control it as much as you like. So you can't look too much past the physicality and the breakdown, to be honest. You know, we got that wrong the last time we played them down there and paid a big price. We actually did some nice stuff there, but physically, because we weren't accurate, we paid a big price. So I think I know that we'll be up for it. I know that we'll be energised for sure, but you've got to have an end product. So it's going to be around the breakdown and accuracy for sure.
And you mentioned Morgan Morris making his 100th appearance this weekend. What can you say about him as a player and as an individual?
Well, the biggest thing I would say about as a player is if you go into our gym, you can see that he was Player of the Year 3 years in a row. So that tells you the contribution, you know, and those are 3 out of the 4 years that I've been here. So from that point of view, you know, I see him as one of my own, as it were. And I've seen him grow and mature into a player that now is more vocal and leader and adding different things to his game, both with and without the ball. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of growth, and he's almost a good advert of the programme that we've had. So I can give him no better credit than you know, coming out the top of that and having such an influence on games as he has done across a long period of time. So, you know, you don't get 100 caps in this league by accident, and for him to do it in such a short time, I think is a testament to him as a person and his dedication, but also with the influence he has of the game and how well rounded he is for in the group as a leader and for his teammates. So yeah, he's a good bloke, and he's also a good player.
And we've spoken about this before. So many people think that he should be in the Wales setup. I mean, what more can he do, in your opinion?
Well, he's had some feedback. He's had some feedback about what he needs to focus on, and I alluded to it around, you know, both sides of the ball, and when you move up a level, international rugby, you need a little bit, probably more of a well-rounded game. Everyone knows what he does with the ball, and he's very good at it. And he's been working exceptionally hard. So his performances against international players, top 8 teams, are really important. And he was very, very good against the Stormers in that area. And he was very, very good, for example, Leinster away in that area last year. So, like anything, he's work in progress, wants to get better. But ultimately, as I always say, and I'm not dodging the question, is ultimately the people who pick that side, they know what they want and what they need to, and there's been some feedback around that area, so he knows what he has to do.
Where would you stand then generally if Gatland got in touch with you and asked to play players in different positions that you see them in? What would you do? Is it Ospreys first, or do you kind of work together?
When does the agreement come in? So look, again, if you have to enforce governance, then you've probably gone too far already. So I think the bigger answer to that is around collaboration and good communication before that. And you want to try to come to a sort of a mutually agreeable sort of standpoint on performance, players, S&C, all of it. And that will obviously distill it down to players and how much they play and where they play. But ultimately, we all want good players, and we've all got a job to make good players, keep good players playing well. Put them in positions where they can have influence, all the things that we just talked about.
Hi Toby, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks. You?
Yeah, good. Obviously, Warren Gatland picks his Wales squad just over a week's time, I think. I would argue the form 10 in Wales is Dan Edwards. Do you think he's ready, if he's picked, to make the step up to international rugby?
Well, firstly, I've not seen the other 10s play, bar in our game, so I couldn't say whether he is or he isn't. I know he's played very well for us, and unless you pick him, you don't know. That's my short answer to that.
Yeah, but he has been impressive though, hasn't he? And he is like the type of player the Ospreys could build a team around for a long time, I would have thought. Yeah,
and that's what we're doing, for sure. I think Jack Walsh has been very good as well when he's been in that 10 position. I mean, it's not obviously from a, there's a long-term Welsh element for that. But those two in particular have been good, and Owen Williams coming back is, we're blessed in that area. Again, the thing that strikes me and impresses me about Dan is his maturity and his application, and his willingness to drive himself to be better week in and week out. And often with young players, you see a fall off, when they play a series of games, whereas with him, he's driven that high quality performance for a long period of time, and last year he didn't, but the growth for him now is that he's able to do that, and that's a testament of how much he's developed.
Yeah, is he a leader in the group as well? Because as a 10, that's obviously important, isn't it?
Yeah, no, without doubt he is, and that's what I mean about I think in particular the role of 10 is not just about the influence you have, it's the influence you have as others. And so you need a certain type of personality, in relation to that position. And for me, he has got the personality to carry that off for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned Kieran Hardy's fit. What do you think he's going to bring to the team if he's fit?
Well, I've seen him obviously train now for a couple of weeks, we've been good, and to see him in our environment, the thing that jumps off the page for me straight away is he's got very, very good world-class core skills. Pass, kick, the nuts and bolts of any performance is good. And again, he's another competitor. We have, you need a lot of competitors, especially with, when you're trying to influence other people. So the good thing about him, like Ruben, for example, and good nines that have gone before him, he has that ability to compete with the ball, but also he wants to drive the team forward. And yeah, I'm excited to see how he goes.
Great, thanks Toby, and good luck in the weekend.
Thank you.
You think, Toby, that having Kieran there will drive Ruben on to another level potentially? Because he's played a lot of games consistently well, but just like with Dan, you might ask, and Morgan, you might ask the question, well, what more have they got to do? Well, now he's going to see exactly what one of his main is for a Wales jersey, if he's aspiring to that, actually does week in, week out.
Yeah, competition for places for sure, and I think that's really, really important to drive people on, because humans, at the end of the day, there are times where, unless you're applying your own pressure, sometimes we don't feel like it. It's just human nature, we don't feel like doing it for a day or a session or whatever. But if you've got someone pushing you on and wanting what you've got, it means you have to stay on it. So from that point of view, I'd like to think it would. I've had previous history with a similar scenario when Pete Richards from Gloucester came to London Irish when I was there, and Paul Hodgson was the incumbent scrum half, and within 9 months to 12 months Paul Hodgson was playing for England and Pete Richards wasn't. So it's almost, that's an advert of what you talk about.
How would you review the sort of first month of the season? And there would appear, or you'd hope, there's a lot more to come.
Yeah.
But maybe this weekend gives you that other chance. The bigger the challenge, the better you play. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, look, we looked at the fixture list as you do, and then you look at your availability list as well, and you go, this is going to be a tough old block, this, for us.
Yeah.
So there was no secret to that. Going to Ireland twice, 2 South African teams, a local derby to kick it off with, irrespective of getting to the last one. So that's a tough gig. But I would be, and look, we got beat fair and square in the end, as we did, and that's the mark of Munster. We controlled the game against Dragons, didn't get across the line, and we deserved to win against the Stormers. So, there's no doom and gloom here, but we're trying to muscle in on what is a very competitive element of our league. So, the more points you pick up in difficult periods, the easier the rest of it gets. But as you know, if you give us 2% in the last game, then we're not too bad. We can probably get the job done.
You occasionally find a way.
Occasionally.
Well, look, it'll be great to see if you can do this. And come back to Morgan, I'm not sure, will Hannacombe be playing for the Bulls?
Well, he's definitely travelled, so we'll see.
Yeah, so that'll be a big test for him, and they've been looking at him and thinking, oh, he'd be. Well, hang on a minute, we've got a homegrown product here.
Yeah, no, and exactly that. So players love the challenge of being marked up against the very best. So I know our boys will be really excited about that.
Yeah. What do you do, especially for someone at 100 caps? Is there anything you can reveal to us that goes on in the dressing room before or afterwards? Or?
Yeah, no, we make a fuss wherever we can, on different milestones for different people. We've had, Justin Tipperick's 200, for example, recently. We've had Sam Parry, So, it's something that's well versed in club world, as it were. And Rubens was the Stormers. So, we'll put together a video package that shows their highlights with messages from people that are significant to them throughout their journey to where they are now. Family, friends, people, teachers, whatever. And also we'll invite them into the presentation on game day, to where we'll present the jersey to him to commemorative jersey, to them to see him in the real environment. So there's a little bit that goes on around that, because you want to celebrate everything you can, because it's not easy to do.
Yeah. You've got to 100 games, haven't you?
I've got the face of 1,000.
Yeah, that's a long period of time. You've done 100 games for Ospreys, haven't you?
Yeah.
What do they do for you?
They just they get me out the door as quickly as possible. No, it's they don't actually. Maybe that's something that I should talk about. No, I don't do it for credit. It's part of it. But the players that do, the players are the ones that go out and do it. It's easy to talk about it. And,
it's important.
And quite rightly, they should get the praise.
Yeah.
What we do though is, obviously, when people leave the club, whether it be management, whether it be, all sorts of performance staff, we make sure we make a fuss of them, but just not on game day.
Well, make sure you can add this weekend to your highlights reel.
Yes, hope so. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob.
So just one very quick one for me. The 2 South African guys, you've got Kasande and Bosch up. Are they in the mix at the moment? Where are they lying?
No, they're not available. So they've literally just started. So they probably will be able to feature the week after, I would have thought.
Right. And just in terms of what you've seen from the Bulls this season, I mean, power and pace, but is anything particularly different you've noticed under Jake this season?
No, not really. Big, fast, powerful, lots of them. I remember going on the URC sort of coach couch piece
Coach's
that you were on
couch,
it,
yeah.
And if you go back through that footage, I think his greatest challenge is what he was going to do with these 60+ players. So no, it's all good. Jake's, I've known Jake a long time, and they'll be competitive as they don't. If you look at what they've achieved, even in URC, where they finish, where they compete, you're dealing with the very best.